Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's February 8th regularly scheduled board meeting. We are returning back from executive session. We apologize for our late return, but here we go. This brings us to agenda item 4, action agenda and new business. And at this time, we are going to swear in our new board member and administer the oath of office. And I'll initially turn it over to Dr. Wiegand.
Thank you, Mr. Kleppel. Lori Bonnet submitted her resignation from the Board of Education on December 12th, 2015, and her last meeting was January 25th, 2016. Last Monday, the board interviewed a number of very good candidates. I think they had a very difficult decision, and they came forward with Dr. Janina Baker to serve until April 2017. So we'd like to invite Dr. Baker up at this time, and she will have the oath of office administered by our board president, Mr. Kleppel.
Okay. So repeat after me, except for this one part, I'll say name.
Okay.
I, name, do solemnly swear
I, Janina Baker, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education
of Champaign Community School District Number 4
of Champaign Community School District Number 4
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the laws of the State of Illinois,
and the laws of the State of Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I further swear that
I further swear that
I shall respect taxpayers' interests by serving as a faithful proctor of the school district's assets,
I shall respect taxpayer
protector,
interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets.
I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members
I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members
and others who seek a hearing before the board,
and others who seek a hearing before the board,
while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual,
I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual,
and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting.
and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting,
And I shall abide by a majority decision of the board
and I shall abide by majority decisions of the board
while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
The board president, I just did. Congratulations. It's been a busy. All right. Welcome aboard, Dr. Baker. We're happy to have you. That brings us to agenda item 5, recognitions. And first up is our staff spotlight, Mr. Noah Brown. And I turn it over to Miss Stephanie Stewart.
I'm actually going to start. So, as part of the superintendent's goals, we have created a forum for community members, parents, other staff members to nominate colleagues who, we have a lot of people who go above and beyond, and we want to shine a light on some of the great things that are happening in our classrooms and with our staff members. And so we have developed a process for people to nominate many of our great staff members. We received a lot of nominations this month. And I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, who's going to talk more about this month's winner, or inaugural winner. As a reminder, if you're interested in nominating someone, there is information on our website to do that. We also have information in our buildings, and we've got an email way and a way to submit a form on a website, and also paper copy ways. And so I'll turn it over to Stephanie to introduce our nominator and nominee.
Thank you, Ken. So as Mr. Kleber mentioned, we have our very first Staff Spotlight Award to give out this evening. I think I've mentioned it in some previous board meetings, at our last one actually, that we received 9 nominations for this month's award program. And so it was very difficult for our team. I know board member Ms. Richards was part of our committee, and it was a lot of really heartfelt nominations. And so every single one of them is deserving. Moving forward, we will actually keep nominations on file. So those who were submitted for the February award will actually be on file for 2 additional months, just because they were so strong and we'd hate to leave them by the wayside just after 1 month. So we'll keep them in the running and look to receive other nominations. But our winner tonight is Mr. Noah Brown. He's an aide at Carrie Busey Elementary School. And we've also invited his nominator and her son, and actually the whole family this evening, Kara Downs. She's actually a teacher at Centennial as well. But I'd like to invite her to the podium just to share a little bit about why she nominated Mr. Brown. And I think she's bringing Jack with her as well. And I think you guys will see exactly why we selected him as our winner.
Hi. Thank you so much for this award, first of all. It was really exciting when I found out about it, and Noah came to mind right away. Sorry, Jack, closer. Jack has wonderful teachers. He's been in the district since pre-K, and it's a huge leap of faith from the time he was 4 to put him on a bus and send him out into the world without his father or I with him. And we've been so lucky with everybody he's been with in the district. We nominated Noah because ever since he's been with Jack, there's just a joy in the way he talks about Jack and in Jack's face when I mention, as you can see now, just talking about Noah. I mean, he's filled with love for Noah, and it's just, to have somebody who loves Jack the way that we love him is a gift, and that's what we consider Noah, is a gift to Jack and a gift to us. And I just wanted to read a quick little note. This is just kind of an example. I mean, Noah cares for Jack in a lot of different ways, but he writes notes home. Since Jack is nonverbal, we rely on these notes to tell us what he does on any given day. And so this is just one example of the joy that kind of Noah infuses in the notes we get. Jack had a good day today. He worked on his Toby, his communication device, which you need to work on, and did work in his science class. He played kickball outside during lunch recess and kept laughing all day at my jokes. Yep. I know I'm funny sometimes, but not that funny. In library, he voted for the best, silliest, realistic from the book Pumpkins and got a severe case of the hiccups. While the librarian was reading. He could not stop laughing at that. Laughing and hiccuping, hiccuping and laughing. He had a great day, Mr. Brown. And just notes like that. And again, just seeing Jack when we talk about him is the reason I nominated Noah.
Thank you very much for sharing. So I'd like to invite Noah Brown to the podium, if he would. And we'd love to give him this certificate. It's just a small token of our appreciation. And we're also starting a bigger certificate that will be hanging by our Human Resources office as we go. We're just going to keep documenting all of our winners. So if you could come and maybe you'd like to say a few words.
It's funny because when I'm with Jack every day, I just kind of talk, and he laughs. And other times he gives me this look like, Noah, stop talking. But this is an honor. Jack, he makes work not even be work. When I come to school and I see him and I get him off the bus, I say, hey, Jack Spratt, how you doing? I even sing to him sometimes. I don't think he likes my singing too much, but that's up for questioning.
Yes, he does like it.
Okay. But he always makes me feel as if I can be on HBO doing a comedy special because he's always laughing at my jokes, and I'm sometimes saying things and I'm not trying to be funny, and he'll just crack up laughing, and just different stuff that we do when we do recycling and just different stuff he just loves to do, and it's a joy just to have him in my life and just working with him, and his mom and dad and his brother, his mom and dad and his brother, they're joys as well. They really have great support for us, the staff at Carrie Busey, and we love them and we love Jack. Thank you.
So I'm going to make a comment to Mr. Brown. So I was sitting here listening to this, and I'm kind of tearing up, choking up. And when you came forward, I finally dawned on me where I recognized you. Mr. Brown, I got to witness you twice over Martin Luther King Jr.'s weekend celebrations, both at Cranert and then at the Vineyard with your performances. Mr. Brown is a very talented vocalist and lent his skills and talents to that event. So it is really an honor to present this award to you. It's incredible. So thank you for your service to the district and all that you do for the community. Truly appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much.
Also like to thank Mr. Brown for his performance during the lunch period at Carrie Busey during NAPIT. It was nice to come over to the school and to hear the kids, and to have you perform to them. The singing was fabulous, so it was an excellent job. Thank you.
Well-deserved award. Truly incredible. Thank you. All right. That moves us to B, recognitions, and there's quite a few, which is awesome. And we're going to start with Ms. Stuckey, and we're going to go around the table. Dr. Baker will pick up one, Mac, and then we'll go around the circle till we run out. So, all right, here we go.
All 9 of the Central High School fall athletic teams earned the IHSA Team Athletic Award, Academic Award, excuse me. They will be recognized in the 2016-2017 IHSA State Tournament program for their respective sports. Congratulations to all of the student athletes, coaches, and teachers.
Congratulations to Centennial High School Principal Greg Johnson. He's often here. Is he here tonight?
No.
Okay. Congratulations to him anyway. For being selected as a Clark Scholar by the American Education Research Association, or AERA. Nearly 90 doctoral students were nominated this year from universities in the United States and Canada, and from those, approximately 40 were selected to participate in the Clark Research Seminar in K through 12 Educational Administration and Policy at the AERA conference this coming spring.
Congratulations to Booker T. Washington teacher Kevin Frederick, who recently received the Madeline P. Simmons Memorial Award for new teachers through the National Science Teacher Association. The Madeline P. Simmons Memorial Award for new teachers provides selected K-12 teachers up to 25 nationwide in their first 5 years of teaching with funds to attend the annual National Conference on Science Education. Award recipients will be mentored, tracked, and provided with continuing opportunities for meaningful involvement with NSTA and its activities.
Edison Middle School Literary Arts Magazine, Retro, received the rating of excellent by the National Council of Teachers of English, NCTE, for its 2014-2015 publication. The NCTE uses a comprehensive rubric to rank it against other middle school and high school literary arts magazines across the state.
I'm still choked up, so I'm gonna. 3 Central Jazz bands and 3 combos competed at the North Shore Jazz Festival at Glenbrook South High School. Central received the following awards. Jazz Combo 2 received 3rd place and Combo 1 received 1st place. Class A second bands, the lab band was awarded 3rd place and the stage band was awarded 1st place. Class A first bands, Jazz Ensemble received 1st place. The Jazz Ensemble was also named overall Festival Grand Champion and will be the featured headliner act at next year's festival. 3 Central students also won individual awards. Freshman alto saxophonist Max Hubbard was recognized as an outstanding soloist. Senior drummer Dusty Fry was awarded a half-tuition scholarship to Northern Illinois University summer camp, and junior bassist Alex Frazetta was awarded a full tuition 4-year scholarship to attend Roosevelt University. That's big.
Congratulations to the Centennial Scholastic Bowl team who went undefeated at the Big 12 tournament in Normal to bring home this year's conference title. The winning squad was Patrick Minsker, Sr., Captain, Randy Jansen, Jr., Daniel Olson, Sr., Jarrett Like, Sr., Nathan Stratton, Sr., and UZ, Jr.
The Champaign County Farm Bureau has awarded Barry Koch of Westview Elementary School with the Earth Partners Educator of the Year Award. Mrs. Koch, who teaches kindergarten at Westview, received the award for many years of work with the Farm Bureau Foundation's Earth Partners program.
International Prep Academy hosted an assembly last week, which was the culminating event of a school-wide anti-bullying campaign. Students earned more than 3,000 gotcha tickets for kind behavior. As a result, Principal Mr. Kasavsky agreed to shave his head. The event was a fun celebration, and Mr. K is embracing his cool new hairstyle, which was featured in the News Gazette.
Bottenfield staff, students, and families will host the Huckstadt Hustle 5K on March 12th. The event will be held in honor of teacher Wendy Huckstadt, who passed away in 2013. Mrs. Huckstadt inspired students to stay fit in her role as a PE teacher, and the Bottenfield community is honoring her love of fitness with this 5K.
February 1st through the 5th, Unit 4 celebrated National School Counselors Week. Dr. Wiegand asked staff to join her in recognizing the tremendous impact that counselors have on the lives of students. Thank you to our counselors for all that you do.
Next fall, Stratton Academy of the Arts will host a new program option for incoming kindergartner families, a French-English dual-language classroom. The class will utilize the dual language two-way immersion, TWI, instruction module that integrates native French speakers with native English speakers for instruction in and through two languages, English and French. The faculty and staff at Stratton are committed to not only creating unique opportunities in the arts for all students, but also fostering a linguistically responsive learning environment that respects and embraces languages and cultures.
Kenwood Elementary School faculty members are working with our partners at the University of Illinois College of Education to integrate computer science into core subjects like math, providing broad student exposure to computing. The project has garnered $1.2 million in funding from the National Science Foundation STEM Plus C initiative. Kenwood adopted a school-wide coding initiative 3 years ago. We are very proud to have such an innovative school and such passionate teachers in Unit 4.
As a result of a Tepper grant supporting the arts, students at Stratton Academy of the Arts had the opportunity to visit with local author Judy Lee. She shared her self-published book, Monet and the Water Lily Friends, and helped students create a Monet-inspired water lily pond mural with lilies. The mural is currently on display in the school library.
Congratulations to the students and faculty involved in Central High School's production of Chicago. The show has been selected as part of the International Thespian Festival this summer in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Unit 4's Young Entrepreneurship Program kicked off on January 26th at the University of Illinois Research Park. YEP aims to create awareness of entrepreneurship opportunities to young people, create small businesses, enhance the local economy, empower students as they transition into the workforce, and provide ongoing support for their successes.
Congratulations to Garden Hills Elementary School and physical education teacher Austin Myers on receiving $4,000 worth of physical education equipment. This grant is part of the Illinois Association of Health Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance program.
This year, National African American Parent Involvement Day, or NAPID, took place today, February 8th. Events were held at each of the district's 19 schools, focused on welcoming parents to engage in their child's education.
Congratulations to the Edison Middle School Jazz Band for placing first at the Purdue University High School and Middle School Jazz Festival on January 23rd.
So, are there any representatives for the long list of recognitions that we had? And if so, could we stand up and say hi? So Dr. Wiegand's telling me the band? So, fantastic. Good stuff. So, thank you. That brings us to public comments. Agenda item 6A. So this is an opportunity for the public to come forward, 3 minutes to discuss issues, make comment, public comment. So I have 3 in front of me, and we have cards at the back table that you can fill out if anyone else would like to speak. So I'll start with the top of my list, and I have first Miss Veronica Thompson.
My name is Veronica Thompson. I'm the Spanish teacher, one of the Spanish teachers at Central High School. And behind me is Madame Schrader, one of our French teachers at Central High School. And we just want to let you know that we're here tonight. If you have any questions about our trip that is coming up here on the agenda, that we're happy to answer any questions, specifically to any of the language pertaining to chaperone and what it means to be a participant versus a volunteer, that we'd love to answer those questions too. So thank you for having us tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Next, I have a Michelle Henderson.
My name is Michelle Henderson, and I am a parent at Central, and 2 of my children and my mother and I all plan on attending the Costa Rica trip, and we're very much looking forward to it. And we did just find out that a background check is going to be required for parents who go on the trip. For myself, I don't have an issue with it. I've already had one. But my mother lives up north of Rockford, and it's, she's 3.5 hours from here. And from what I understand, she is expected to get this background check herself and pay for it herself, which I do find somewhat unreasonable. We have paid a significant amount of money to go on this trip. We started paying for it last February, and it's a lot of money, and we're very excited about going, and going with the Spanish group. And I would like to, I guess, have a resolution as to whether this background check is going to be required, and if so, how to address some of these other issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Next up, I have Mr. Tracy Nugent.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Nugent, and I think you've all received an email from me earlier today, including Dr. Wiegand. Appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, and appreciate what you do. I spent 3 years as a Commissioner of the Housing Authority, Champaign County, so I know that your job is not easy. Obviously, I'm here to talk to you tonight about the trips and the background check that has been imposed at this late hour in the process. I have shared thoughts in great detail in the email. I'm certainly here to answer questions. But I would note a few things. First of all, there are 2 issues here. One, the trips that are being considered for approval tonight. Second, the whole issue of how volunteers are handled by the school district in relation to assisting in the schools. I understand the policy and the reason for the policy. I do not understand the mechanics of the policies. I've pointed out in the email that I've shared, the state of Illinois does not require fingerprinting to obtain a concealed carry permit. I can't imagine why a school district would require fingerprinting for a volunteer to travel on a trip to anywhere. Second, I would urge for the overall good of the schools that a process for these screenings be set up in a way that is not viewed by a lot of the volunteers that you would hope to bring in that can lend a great deal of help to your schools and your students as being difficult, demeaning, or simply unacceptable. I certainly personally find the need to turn over a social security number and undergo fingerprinting to travel on a trip as all of those, particularly in a circumstance where it was not explained or made known until almost a year after the trip was advertised and payments were made. I understand that the proposal tonight is to approve the trips, and I imagine that's in accordance with the school's current policy, and if that were undertaken, I imagine what would happen is the result being that the policy would be viewed as requiring background checks, and therefore they would be required without further action. I will tell you, I think that that's wrong. Your Policy 64511 makes reference to these background checks. It says all school volunteers must submit to a criminal background check if required. I'm sorry, is that 30 seconds? That policy was put in place in 2003. It has not been enforced. It has never been brought up. It has never been noted. And I believe that trying to stand on that as a procedural matter tonight would be a mistake, would not leave you in a good light. I gather that time was not going to be extended here, so I will simply tell you that I hope you will take these thoughts into account and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nugent. Mr. John Curry. I kept missing it when she kept saying it, so.
I actually didn't come here and intend to talk to you guys, but since you guys already spread some good cheer for the band, I figured I'd tell you another good thing. At Allstate, we had 17 students make Allstate, and we had some firsts. One of the first was a student that entered the composition contest, and it's a first from our school to get recognized for creating and writing a piece of music, which I thought was very cool. The other thing what I think is, I don't know that it can be done again. We had 3 students place in the honors combo at Allstate. That's 8 students across the state, and 3 of them were from our school. Not only were they from our school, they were from Southside Elementary School, which at most could be 50 kids, you know, in a class. I just find that that's a pretty amazing feat. And actually, all 3 of them got started by Mrs. Curry. So I just thought that was something that unique that really shouldn't be passed up, actually, after you started saying those things. So I just wanted to come up and tell you that.
Thank you, Mr. Curry and Ms. Curry. All right. Last opportunity for public comment. All right. We will move along. That moves us to agenda item 7, communications. And up first is communications from CFT. Thank you, Jen. Communications from CESP. Communications from the PTA Council. Put her on the clock, Jonathan. Communications from CU Schools Foundation.
Thank you. My name is Pius Weibel. I'm on the board of the CU Schools Foundation. Let me say it's an honor to speak to a board on which I'm not on. Tonight we're going to talk about a relatively new, first of all, one of the main things that the foundation does is that we offer grants, modest grants to the instructor staff at the public schools in Champaign-Urbana. We're going to talk about one of them. It's a relatively new grant. It's called a collaborative grant. We started it last year. Obviously, it has to be a collaborative. It means it has to have members from Unit 4 and members from Unit 116. This year's award is called an attached grant. It's awarded to a number of art teachers from the schools, and so I'm going to talk to you about that. In October, last October, nearly 100 high school students from Centennial, Central, and Urbana converged on Credit Art Museum to explore the collections, discuss their favorite pieces, and gather inspiration for future artwork. The students explored the museum in groups of 3. At least 2 of the high schools were represented in each group. While they were there, they had questions. They were given questions, and they were prompted to guide their discussions, and plus they had to do a little homework on the side, do some research. As you see, Piper here, a sophomore at Central, first time she'd visited to any art museum. I want to point out that the students who participated were not AP art students. Okay, during their time at the museum, back up here. During the time at the museum, they participated in a panel discussion with museum directors, museum curators, local artists, gallery installers, and others who work in the field of art. The idea was to expose them to a variety of careers in the field, hence try to get them attached to it. I think that's why they used that as their title. Caitlin, a senior at Central, is passionate about art and found a great deal of inspiration at the museum. After high school, she plans to study art at Parkland and looks forward to inspiring others as an art teacher. She told us that this experience pushed her to identify a career goal and plan accordingly. She registered for additional credits in the spring semester to ensure she would graduate on time. Okay, after spending a day at the museum, students returned to their classroom studios and over the course of several weeks created a work of art inspired by a piece in the museum. Hence, they attached themselves to a piece of art in the museum. Here are some examples of their work. Always have to have a cat picture, I guess. The students continue to stay in touch and use technology to introduce themselves to each other through their artwork. Students weren't the only ones benefiting from collaborating. And I'll let you, I guess I can read these. Urbana teacher Jill Lagerstrom says it's been refreshing to work with other art teachers. From Carol Lynn Camparetto, this grant has given me the opportunity to work with experienced teachers, which is critical to me as a first-year teacher. And Centennial teacher Shannon Pericoco says this grant has rejuvenated her teaching. Being awarded this grant has given me the confidence to try something fresh and new. Okay, Urbana teacher Susan Gleason said seeing the art in the museum and knowing they were going to create something that would be real in a real gallery made them bring their A game to the studio. Here are some examples of the work in progress. I want to point out that Susan Gleason was the primary was the leader of this collaborative grant. And the final culminating event was a student art show at the Indigo Art Gallery in downtown Champaign in this last December. Miranda, a student at Central, says, I can't wait to see other people's work. Students organized and cataloged the artwork. They spent an afternoon carefully arranging and installing their work. The event was well attended and the students took pride in showing off and explaining the work to family and friends, as you can see here. And of course, we had some important people, I was supposed to say that showed up to support the program, and thank you for attending. We've just secured a gift to continue funding for this project in the 2016-2017 school year. In addition, we'll award another general collaborative grant next year. We're working on an RFP for a new cross-district collaborative grant to support and enhance opportunities for career awareness in grades 6 through 10. We'll be back in March with more details. That will be somebody else. For now, we'd like to have you remember that our 2016 Gala, which is our main fundraiser, it will be Saturday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn. And finally, I want to point out that the attached budget was $2,700. That's the budget that we had prepared for the teachers to use. They used under $2,000, I'm happy to report. And so it's always nice to have people pay way under what they expected to pay. Okay, I have some questions, or I have time for any questions if the board has any questions. about this?
I don't have a question, but I will say that the students I talked to were really excited about it, and they had a great time.
Good. We think so too. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weibel. That brings us to 7E, communications from Director of Communications and Community Relations, Ms. Stephanie Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you for hanging in there with the long list of recognitions. There were so many this month, which is wonderful, and we've just been working to spread the word in the community on Facebook and posting little snippets of these sorts of recognitions as we receive them. So thank you for that. Mr. Weibel talked a little bit about the collaborative grant. Just wanted to make you all aware and the community aware. We're actually collaborating with CUSF and Urbana 116 on a special insert for the News Gazette coming up later this spring. So we're going to talk about our districts individually, but then also where we intersect on projects like this, which will be a very unique update to the community on our schools and the great things that are happening. Today, as it was mentioned in recognitions, was NAPID. I know that we have some media coverage that'll be coming out probably tonight and tomorrow, so that will be great to look for that, about all the great activities that took place. A big event for us this week is the Schools of Choice Info Night is taking place on Thursday. This is the second and final Info Night session. There are still other opportunities to learn about the process. That'll take place at 6 p.m. at Kenwood. And I just wanted to express my appreciation again for Mr. Brown and Mrs. Downs and all of those who submitted for the staff spotlight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Brings us to 7F, communications from our student ambassador, Mr. Justman.
I'm just happy to say that the other student ambassador and I have completed our survey for students on their feelings about the facilities at Central and Centennial, and we'll hopefully be distributing that soon.
Thank you, Mr. Justman. And lastly, under 7G, communications from board members. Open it up to my fellow board members. Ms. Armstrong.
Mr. Brown left, but one of the reasons that is so emotional and incredible is when you have a child that's medically fragile, letting them go out into the world and releasing them to someone else's care is the hardest thing as a parent I've ever had to do. So to see that love and that bond is, for a parent, is amazing. And just, I'll keep it together, but it was awesome to see and watch. And one thing that I picked up on Facebook, I follow a parent we're friends with, and they were talking about Central swimming. And so there was maroon swimming this weekend, and Peyton Woods finished second, and Ben Storsved fifth in the 50 freestyle at the Big 12 Conference swimming to earn all conference honors. And then there was also student Barnard, and Storsved, Jones, and Woods placed third in the 200 free relay. So it occurred to me that I was reading it this weekend, so I know we focus a lot on other sports, but swimming's going strong, and the parents shared that. So thanks for letting me say that.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Ms. Shannon.
Just want to mention that I was at Novak Academy today, wore their shirt, and they were warmly welcoming. There was some wonderful speakers there. Our own Angela Smith. So anyway, it's always so nice to be welcomed by the schools in our district, no matter where we go.
I'll go. I had the opportunity Friday night to spend 12 hours in downtown Champaign, sleeping in a box. I slept in a box for about an hour and a half. It was cold, but what really struck me about the event was it was the One Winter's Night that CU at Home puts on, and it's their primary fundraiser. Was the amount of community that came out that evening in support of friends and families, and that's what a lot of it was. But it was really just a neat experience to see, and it's grown each year. I've read about it the past couple of years and had the opportunity to participate this year. But over 100 box dwellers in downtown Champaign, there along Neal Street, and so I'll report more probably down the road. My toes are still warming up, but it was a neat opportunity. If you ever hear that, it's the first weekend in February, and just wander down there, get dinner, and then just kind of walk around and talk to some of the box dwellers and contribute a little bit. There's several speeches and talks given in the Champaign building during that time period. So really a neat experience. So I'll have more at a future date. Any other board comments? Dr. Baker, you want to get your first one in here and say hi?
Hi. Yes, I'm glad to be warmly welcomed to the board. I've already gotten a few emails from Tammy, so we're swimming along. I think I'm definitely appreciative of the board, and also the process and trying to find a candidate out of us. We gave them a good run, didn't we? And thank you to the administrators and staff. I look forward to meeting you and getting to know you more.
Thank you, Janina. All right. If there are no other board comments from my fellow board members, we'll move along. Brings us to agenda item 8A, upcoming events, and I'll breeze through these quickly. February 9th, 2016, one-to-one mentor training, 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Mellon Boardroom. February 11th, 2016, choice informational session / showcases of schools, 6 o'clock p.m. at Kenwood Elementary. February 15th, 2016, President's Day. There is no school. February 18th, 2016, Social Justice Seminar, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. here in the Mellon Boardroom. February 22nd, 2016, special board meeting, 5:30 p.m. at the Savoy Recreation Center. So we will not be here at our next meeting 2 weeks from now. February 23rd, 2016, Choice Evening Open House, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at any of the 12 elementary schools. Tours will be provided. And then February 24th, 2016, English Learners Parent Advisory Committee, 7 p.m. at Stratton Elementary School. That brings us to agenda item 9, reports, new business. And up first is 9A, 2015-16 goals and indicators, high school. Miss Dr. Judy Wiegand and Dr. Laura Taylor.
I believe the presentation is in board docs if you want to follow that way, or else also be on the screen. And thanks here. One of my favorite quotes is, "Don't tell me what you value. Tell me what you do, and I will tell you what you value." And it's been attributed to a number of different people, and from anywhere from Malcolm X to actually our Vice President Joe Biden. Who knows, but I like it because it communicates the same thing. Where do you spend your time, energy, and your resources? Because it cannot be just about rhetoric, but it's about your actions. And so over the course of the next few meetings, you'll have the opportunity to see where we spend our time, energy, and resources. The most important work, in my opinion, is this, for the Board of Education, is the setting of goals and indicators. Because these goals and indicators drive what we do at this level, the central office level, and then down into our buildings. It determines the goals for the building principals, the associate principals, my own executive team. And so this is a chart that was given to you, to the board, when you did one of your retreats with Dr. Patrick Rice. And so as we take a look at this, I think I'll have this on here. You know, we're starting here, last year actually at this, in April, when most of you were just elected to the board, I had the goals and indicators determined. And that's what drives our work. So moving on to then the second step, it then allows me to work with the different teams to create those action plans. And then we'll do that through April and through June. And again, then I'm given the authority and the resources to try to reach these goals. And as you'll see, as you go through this process yourself, that this spring and into September when we do budget approval, there should be an alignment to what the goals are, what the indicators are, and where we're putting our resources. And then again, being able to come back here now and evaluate, how are we doing? And so this is the first part of that evaluation we're starting this evening. Again, going through February and March, providing that evaluation to the board, as well as your own evaluation that you do with the Illinois State Board, the Illinois Association of School Boards and Dr. Patrick Rice. And then we come back into the cycle again, where we are going to be, again, seeing how we are doing, and then moving back again into this April, where you'll set goals and indicators collaboratively with myself. Here's just another way of looking at it, because it is a partnership. It's about the board establishing policy and direction, setting those goals for our district mission, which is correlates with the Great Schools Together, our district strategic plan. And each board member, you have a hard copy of the goals that were decided on, as well as there's a live link in the presentation. And again, going to me, working with my administration and the management to develop those action plans. So again, it really helps to continue the direction in our district. Let me go back here, because again, it shows through different leadership studies and best practice what happens in successful districts. And it's really about, again, that collaborative goal setting, having non-negotiable goals for achievement and instruction, using our resources to support that monitoring, and then that defined autonomy and relationship with the schools. And so I define that as a way of saying, we've set these standards, these expectations. This is where we're heading. But building Centennial or another building, Central, how you implement that and go, it could be different, because you have a different climate and culture, but those same goals and targets remain the same. And so we're really going to look at curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And again, maybe not as sexy as facilities or property acquisition, but again, it is what we really do, and it's the core of what we do here in the school district when it comes to student achievement. And it'd be nice to isolate these three different components, but they're very interrelated. So as we go through, will there be overlap? Of course. We can't separate them out, and they don't operate in isolation because they are, again, very interrelated. Here's another reason why goals and indicators are so critical. And been asked, I'm asked on occasion, what are those challenges that you face, right, in running a school district, and what's happening with schools today? So again, it's a very highly complex system. And as I take a look and we started thinking about all those different challenges that we face, I started to list out a few. So we know that ISAT, Illinois standards, are gone, and now we have Common Core state standards, which turns into PARC. And again, that's a significant change in expectations and increased rigor, K-8. But again, that is a positive, because now it's going to help that alignment when it comes to K-12. Before, it was very separate between what was expected as a student going through K-8, and then when you got into the high school, all of a sudden, the expectations were changed. And so were the scores different and the assessment scores different? Of course they were. We continue to have that discussion, I believe, the state level regarding ACT versus SAT. And I don't believe they finalized that. Under appeal?
under appeal. So again, we wait in kind of limbo to see what might happen. Senate Bill 7 and para. Legislation that has been passed, and it certainly has shown significant changes in the teacher evaluation system. Very high stakes. And again, next year we'll be implementing the growth model. But yet, at the federal level, when they just reauthorized
and it's called Every Student Succeeds, that component that drove the state to pass the growth model is not included anymore. So I have colleagues, other superintendents who've kind of held off with waiting to see if we have to spend that time in getting ready for that growth model, because they believe that the legislature in Springfield may change it. But again, if they don't, we still have to implement by August, okay? And then again, last month in January, when I took a look at the state report card, and I highlighted some things with the state report card, and some of the things that challenge us. We have an increased poverty rate in our school district. We've seen an increase in homelessness. We have a mobility rate that is higher than the state, and that means that we have students, obviously, in families who move frequently. And does that mean that a student sometimes misses instruction, and are there academic skill gaps that need to be addressed? Of course. And so how do we then address that type of programming through support programs, as well as enrichment opportunities? Social and emotional needs of students. Again, the state budget and the impact that has had on social service agencies, and then looking to organizations like the school district to see what can you do to help support. And you see this play out, for example, just recently when we heard about a program in the St. Louis area called the Hope House. And it wonderful program about helping their homeless students. Is that the role of a school district? And again, we go back and forth, many positive pieces to that, as well as maybe some concerns. And again, we do not have, and I'll say this for the sake of Tommy, we do not have unlimited resources. So again, it goes back to, as well, in a community such as ours, that is a very diverse community, both racially, economically, ethnically, I will say that it is certainly more challenging as well as more rewarding to work in a school district like ours versus one that's more homogeneous. And there are competing community values. We see that, like I said, just recently with the Hope House proposal, as well as last year we saw it play out a lot when we went through the referendum and where a school should be located, as well as issues that happened in our country around, for example, Ferguson and the protests, and the comments that were made to myself and others, pro and con, for what was taking place. And so those things all play out, right, within state and federal government. So I always go back to the goals and indicators, right, because there could be a lot of different distractions that could come your way. And so again, that's why I keep emphasizing that, because I do believe it's one of the most important things you do as a board, because it sets the direction of our school district. And so as we start this process over the next few meetings, I want to start with the end in mind, a successful graduate, and what does that look like? And what does that look like when it comes to the work that's going on in our high schools? So I'm going to have Dr. Taylor, Deputy Superintendent, take over and let's talk about what's happening in our high schools. And as we go through, I'll just, hang on a second, put it right here in the middle, right? Again, you'll have the hard copy of the goals, and you'll notice on some of the slides, we will reference by number and letter. So if it's, for example, 1C, you know that it applies to goal 1, letter C. At any time, please stop and ask questions as we go through this, because it's a lot of information. So that's why we're splitting it up over several different meetings.
I'm going to speak to it in a minute, but it's Next Generation Science Standards.
Okay.
Okay, so the way I'm going to go about this is discussing some of what we do to meet our goals across curriculum, assessment, and instruction. And then identifying some of the areas where we're doing some kind of very innovative things, and some other work that I often do that speaks to some other goals that is really K-12, that has to do with some of our social justice efforts across those. And so I'm also going to include some examples of how we monitor progress, so you can see how we do that. But before, oh, go. Yeah, sorry.
Dr. Taylor, could you please pull the mic closer to you?
Oh, sorry, I was we're sharing our mic.
I'm not convinced anything you just said went through.
Okay. would you like me to say it again, or am I good to go?
I think you should.
Uh,
Good, okay, good to go.
Good to go.
All right.
Okay, well, the first thing I'd like to do is look at some of the highlights that we have recently, and I won't read them all, but I am going to read quite a few of them because they are really highlights from the last 3 or 4 years. One, our graduation rate is 85.9%, which is higher than the state, and we did have a big increase after the 2012 school year that we maintained. That's not always easy to do, but we did, and we're glad about that. Graduation rate for low-income students, 78.5, is higher than the state, and is the highest in the past 4 years. Our graduation rate for our Hispanic students is 91.5%, is higher than the state, and is also highest in the past 4 years. The percentage of students enrolled in post-secondary, this gets to looking backwards from the outcome and moving back, is 71% after 12 months, again higher than the state, and 74.7% after 16 months, meaning students that progress that once they're out of high school, staying in their college or universities. And a couple other areas there that we have their highlights. There's quite a few, but I wanted to point out just a few for you as we move forward. Dr. Wiegand alluded to, you will see goals listed, so that's your first example of that. You see 1E and 5A. You'll see that a few times. A lot of the data that I work on and the things that I do cross various goals, so you'll go back and forth between those. One of the greatest strides, areas that we made some of the greatest strides, is in our advanced placement program. And this, we call this our AP program here. For those of you who are not familiar with what advanced placement is, the College Board has created many courses that are college-level courses that schools can decide to put into their high schools if they wish. You do not have to by any means. And these courses they can be semester courses, they can be year-long courses. And at the end, there is an exam that students have the opportunity to take. We don't require them to do so. And if they score a 3 or above, the exam is a 0 to 5. If they score a 3 or above, we are pleased with that. A 3, actually, there's a new law going in place next year that says in the state of Illinois, students who score a 3 or above, it's a pilot 3-year process they're doing, will now get credit at the university they choose to attend if it is a state institution. So they are now required to give credit for that 3 or above. May not be in the actual discipline area, but somewhere. It could just be an elective credit. So that's new, our state's playing with. So when we look at this, we pay attention to that. We have done, again, a very good job here in the past few years. Our mean score continues to be above Illinois, the United States, and the global scores. We've increased from 3.13 to 3.2 in terms of our mean. When it says all, that means all students that have taken these exams, Asian students, other Hispanic, Latino, and low-income mean score is the highest in the past 4 years. Our Black, African American, Asian, Mexican, other Hispanic, Latino, and low-income mean score increased from last year. And you'll note that the term Mexican there, that is a College Board. The College Board actually breaks out the different areas in the Hispanic, Latino community. That's their wording, because they found people would like that, I'm sure. They want to know. Centennial maintained that 70% of its students had a mean score of 3 or above, 2 years in a row now. Which is very strong, and Central was at 68% and then moved up to 75% this last year with 3 or above. Very high compared to other places in our area. Total low-income exams increased 36.8 with an 89.8% increase since 2012. That means students who receive free or reduced lunch, we've had a huge increase in those students taking our classes and then taking our exams, which is good. And then a couple other areas. Total Mexican exams increased 100%. And total number of AP students increased 22%, 0.7% in the last 3 to 4 years. Now I'm going to give you a little, I'm going to point out something. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the how. How was this done in the last 3 or 4 years? And I'm going to list a few things that I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to ask you to pay attention to this a little bit later when I talk about assessment. So here's your clue that this is an important topic. One of the things that we've done is, well, we've just increased the number of courses. That helps, right? In the past few years, we've added 3 advanced placement courses. I at least saw one of our teachers back here that happens to teach our new AP World, and there may be others, but AP World course that is for sophomores. We put in an AP Computer Science course, as you know, and we're adding another one to it. We've also made some of these courses capable of being for our requirements. So for now, starting this year, AP Government actually can be taken as one of our requirements because we made some changes in terms of our social studies for those of you who were here before. At times, we actually help students pay for these courses. Not very often, but we survey the kids twice. We've just sent out a survey recently to our advanced placement students. We do it every time around late January, February, to say, hey, are you thinking of taking the exam when it comes around in May? If not, why not? How can we help you if there's a need? What can we do? How can we better prepare you? That's gone out, and I think these have been returned. And then when we're done, we do one in the summer or right at the end of the year with the kids, right before they leave, to say, did you take it? How'd you feel? What were your study methods? And so we've been able to kind of hone in on providing different supports that way. We do some summer booster camps that have been helped with a grant, where we have some teachers that meet with the kids before they ever enter into the advanced placement class. We just found out today, I think, that we received that grant again, $50,000, I believe. Yep, it's from the state. Applied and received that. And we also use the data to identify kids that might be successful in these courses. We'll look at some other things that we do and some of the surveys to say, and reach out and say, hey, you might want to consider an advanced placement course later. So those are many, many things we've done as we've gone through. Great area for us. We also monitor a lot of our data. So this is just an example. There are many. But this is an example of monitoring the data for the past 4 years across, these are our honors level classes. So these include your advanced placement courses, but there are many other courses that are honors that are not advanced placement. And this happens to be, and the reason we look at this one, and I'm using this as an example, is because this leads us into the advanced placement later, right? You get an idea in terms of vertical alignment and scaffolding of how many kids might be interested in advanced placement later. On the right is just your total. Oh, I get to use my pointer, don't I? There we go. Total number of students enrolled, and we watch that to make sure it's within the areas that we think, and if it changes, why? We want to make sure we know why that may be, because there are reasons why that might change. And then over here, we have the demographic breakdown across the top, and if we look over here on the left, we'll see our African American Black students. And I'll just go to the last year right here. 368 of our Black students are currently enrolled. This was a our September benchmark. So on that date when we pulled it, which is 42% of the African American or Black population enrolled in an honors course. And you could see this across all the various areas. And we look at it twice a year, really, usually is when we look at it. We have an area to highlight that just noticed upon looking at now, which is our special education. We see an increase in terms of the percentage of students that are taking honors courses right now. But again, just one of the ways that we monitor, you'll see it goes to Goal 1E as well, that I talked about earlier, to make sure we're paying attention to what's happening and adjusting when needed. Another thing we do is monitor grade distribution. And so here's an example of an accelerated comp English class. This is your freshman honors English class. This will be first semester data that we just pulled after grades came in after this first semester. And this is both Centennial and Central together. And what you'll see on this is across the top are the number of students enrolled and their demographic breakdown of the students enrolled, the grades that they are receiving at the time, or they received first semester. And then underneath here would be the percentage of those students and where they fell. And I know this was, Judy, we're going to speak to something, in the past where it was.
Right. So prior to being superintendent, I served as assistant superintendent over the high schools and worked a lot previously with that, before that even, as a principal at Centennial High School during the consent decree time period. And it was really about access and outcomes. So if you go back to that previous slide, when it comes to enrollment, we will always want to take a look and see, when it comes to your total percentage of your demographic, who is accessing honors level courses. But it's more than just accessing the course. It's about, so what type of grades are students receiving? What are those outcomes? And so we would report out to the court regarding taking a look at the enrollment, but also we take a look at the grade distribution. So when I look at this example, one of the things we would look at and say, okay, well, if I am a white student in this class, the most frequent grade received is an A, and the second most frequent grade is a B. How does it compare to an African-American student? The most frequent grade is a B. The second most frequent grade is a C. So again, it takes a look, and all the different areas are listed here, but again, it's just a way for us to continually monitor what is happening in our honors level courses when it comes to that type of access and the outcomes.
I recall what you had said, you had said before, during the time when consent decree was going, the most common grade for an African-American student in honors.
Right, when we first
is actually
started,
a C.
the work around the consent decree, it was much lower. It was a C, D, and F. And so, again, we made a lot of progress during that time, and we want to make sure that we continue to maintain those gains and even make more and keep moving forward.
Okay. The next area, again, goals 1E and 5A, I have a lot in that area. This is the percentage of juniors and seniors enrolled in dual credit courses, and it has increased dramatically as well in the past few years. One of the things you may have noticed on our advanced placement chart a little bit ago was that there were fewer in some cases in terms of students enrolled in advanced placement, but we have added a competition to advanced placement, and it's a healthy one in that we've inserted some dual credit opportunities. And so students have a choice now that they didn't have before across certain areas to opt for dual credit instead of advanced placement. And I'll talk a little bit more about why they may wish to do that. But here what you have is you have an 11-12. And this can be the same student. So some advanced, some dual credits can be semester courses, some can be year-long. But what you have is that during that school year in 11-12, 229 students were enrolled. Again, they were enrolled in classes, so they could be the same child. And we could, we can break that down more if we need to. And then just last year, we were up to 455 enrolled in dual credit of our juniors and seniors. We have done a lot to increase this opportunity for our students, and we're seeing great benefits from that. And so you're seeing that. And one of the things that we've done with that, obviously, is we've added some more dual credits. We've added 5 recently, dual credit opportunities. But one of the ones that we added just last year is the one that I think can pull from some of the advanced placement, which is our, actually one of the teachers of that class was here earlier today and up speaking. Is our advanced composition class, which is a senior level English course. And if the students take it and they get their grade, they can walk right into the University of Illinois and have their first semester of English done. As a parent of 2 twins that graduated last year, I absolutely said, please, take that and don't take AP Lit and Comp. I thought that was a better option for my own children. My older daughter actually took AP Lit and Comp. It depends on your child. And depends what you think is good for them, but we are providing opportunities that way. And all of them, that transfers right over to ISU. It transfers over to every university in our area, Missouri. And so these are great things for our kids. So we're going to continue to add those. I just had recently, 2 weeks ago, had a meeting with the science department at Parkland to talk about a course that we would add in 17-18. And believe it or not, we start those conversations now because handbook comes out next year. We're putting things together right now, so and we're very excited about something that may occur there. The science teachers are looking at that right now, that we want to continue to do. See if I can move. We also, in the area of dual credit, new this year, and with the help of the wonderful Mark Shagnon, this was really him spearheading this with Nick Elder over at Parkland. We have ECHA, which is the Early College and Career Academy. Now, where we have 29 students that leave our high school and go over there and actually take a dual credit over at Parkland. This is in more of the areas of manufacturing, auto tech, computer networking, certified nursing assistant, and a few others. And again, September benchmark is what we'll use that when we're looking at numbers. But one of the things we monitor here that as we start a new program and then continue is right here is the percentage of our demographic breakdown in September. So 9% of our students were Asian, 32% of our students were Black. And then so on, Hispanic 10%, white 44%. And then our CTE enrollment is next to that. CTE are any of the career technical education courses that we offer in the building. Some of those are dual credits, some of them are not. And we want to make sure that we're looking at this in a way to make sure that we're fairly even across the demographics. And then the new program of the 29 student, here's the percentage breakdown demographically here. And the reason we do this is because, we should for one reason, but also there's sometimes a perception that we can track some of our demographic groups into what used to be thought of as VOTEC. It is not VOTEC in the minds of what people used to think VOTEC was. They're very wonderful career options for our students. But we want to make sure, right? And what we see in the first year of just this program, we are in line with our demographic breakdown. We will continue to watch, but it seems to be a great opportunity for some of our students to get, again, college-level courses as they go out in areas that they have an interest in. There's criminal justice in there, emergency medical tech, so some new and interesting things. You want to jump in, or am I good? You're good. Okay. All right, rigorous curriculum. We're going to move a little bit away from some of those highlights and things we talked about, and we're going to talk about, Judy talked about, the interconnectedness of curriculum instruction assessment. And I'm first just going to show you really what helps us determine what that curriculum should be. As you might imagine, it's fairly determined for us in some ways, not the actual curriculum, but the what we are supposed to teach is decided upon by others and the content areas and things we have to focus. And so, right, I'm going to read it straight out. The standards that we use are identified for the most part by the Illinois State Board of Education, especially in the area of English and math, and the Common Core standards have been adopted, but they have now, as you know, adopted those, and we make decisions of how we are going to write or purchase or, institute curriculum based off those, trying to look at a K-12 conversation with that. That is the difficult part of this whole process, isn't that the bar, as Judy talked about, it was very different for 8th grade and below as it was for high school. And now there's this new alignment, which is great. But also things don't come in all at one time, thankfully, because you can't do it all at once. But that also complicates this conversation, especially at the high school when you have many, many teachers teaching many different things. When there are no standards available for us, there are discipline-specific standards, usually created by national organizations at different times. And there aren't always standards that our state has readily adopted and ready for us. An example are the Next Generation Science Standards. They were just adopted about a year ago after numerous years of us waiting for decisions to be made. And even now, going to some of the challenges, there still hasn't been a decision by our state on the model that they're saying we should do. Most of us believe they will never come down with a model that we should do, but you can't move forward until you know. So we are working with our science teachers, and we're making sure we're addressing them, but whether or not it'll be in this class, in that class, it's not known just yet, because we do have to do some things differently with these new standards. There's some things that we weren't doing that we know we have to add. We're just not quite sure where we're going to add them until they make a decision of whether or not they're going to require a model. Another area, the C3 standards, college, career, and civic life. I remember standing in front and giving a whole new update, and we changed our entire way we approach social studies, but the board, it was at this board? It would be my question. No, it was the board before. Yeah, but we changed a lot in our social studies. We worked with our social studies teacher, and they're right now piloting the resources based on the conversation and the changes that we made a few years back when we brought those forward. But even then, we were very, I don't want to say lucky, we were forethinking and visionary and knew that civics was very important and that we wanted it in our curriculum. And then all of a sudden the state decided they were going to make it part of it anyway. Thankfully, we already knew that's what we wanted. But had we not, that's a direction that someone would have maybe made us go differently at the drop of a hat. Happened to work out, and our social studies teachers are doing a remarkable job there in that whole process. And I just gave you the link. Which really determines a lot of our standards. If you'd like to hit the link, go for it, but I'll give you this. This is just a very, very, very small example. This is why I don't give you all of them. These are our writing standards for 9th and 10th grade on the left, and then 11th and 12th grade here, and these aren't even all of them. These are just some of them, but I wanted you to see what a teacher and curriculum developers and our teaching and learning department look at when they're having these conversations, just so you kind of knew. Next, we're going to move to something that we used. Oh, we're not going to move anywhere because it's not going. There we go. As you can imagine, when you have so many courses at the high school and you have all these changes and these different standards going through, it's not that easy to keep track and make sure it's all going in the direction you need it to go. And so one of the things we did 2 years ago, and we did do this for 2 years until we got to our current adoption process, is that the CIA team, which is a curriculum instruction assessment team, which consists of the 2 building principals, the associate principals, CFT two representatives, CFT, and then our teaching and learning department and myself, we created a system to start saying, where are we in all of these courses? And this is a grid. This is just an example, and I do pick the math one because they had the adoption the longest time ago, and therefore they're farther through. So I use it as the example. But what you see over here are our list of our math courses in the high school. Some are required, some are not. And then you see different things that we think we need to get done in terms of curriculum instruction and assessment across, and you'll see the pacing of if they're done. If they weren't done, it's where they were projected to be done, whether it be summer, of whatever year or spring of whatever year. And then we went through, we did do this for 2 years, but now where we are is we're in an ELA adoption, we're in a social studies adoption, and throughout that process, this tends to get done because you're starting to align those things together all in one big fell swoop. But adoptions are not, they come every 8 years. And so it's not something you can, with the changes that went through with new next generation science standards and with the Common Core, we couldn't just wait till the adoption came through. So we started this process to get going. And we did, and every department moved through that way, which was helpful at the time. Now we've done some other things. And then assessment. And as I go through this part, I'm going to give you some examples of different assessments that we use. But I'd like you to think about assessment and why we use it as we go through, because there's many different reasons to use different types of assessment. But it is, in many ways, it's a means by which we can determine our efficacy, right, across various areas. It could be our efficacy in terms of instruction. It could be in terms of our curriculum. It could be vertical alignment kind of things. But it also gives us an idea of how we compare to others, depending on the assessment that we use. How do we compare, even just the two high schools compare to each other? How a course in one high school compares to a course in the other high school, for example, and how a teacher responds to their student needs in their classroom at the ready, right there. And so I'm going to go through a few of the examples so you can see the various assessments that are out there. That by no means is this everything, and by no means am I saying we use these all the time. All right, I'm giving you some examples of them, just so you can have a general knowledge. And this gets back to our little quiz from earlier, so be ready. One of the most important things that our teachers do, and really I think educators in general believe the most valid way to inform your practice in your classroom is to use what we call formative assessments. And you can see teachers do this so beautifully and seamlessly in their classroom at times where you don't even know instruction is even kind of stopped, and it's just kind of how they're moving through. And so mine won't be near as beautiful and seamless because of how we've done this. But an example might be of what I set up earlier. If I want to check your understanding of what I asked you earlier about some of the ways that we improved our advanced placement scores and some of the things that we did, I can do a very simple formative assessment. And these could be done, at every 10 minutes in a class, every 15 minutes a class, once during a class, it depends. But I may say, Fist of 5 is a very common one. So now you got to look over here and act like you're paying attention, everybody, right? Fist of 5. If I don't understand a word that you just said to me, Lauren, I'll ask you the question. I'm going to ask, the teacher's going to say, put up a fist. And they're going to gauge, and they're going to look out the classroom and say, oh, clearly I need to circle back and address this in a different way. Or a 3, Fist of 5. Put a 3 if you think you kind of get it. And the teacher's going to look a little differently and act differently then. Or a 5. I'm a rock star. I got it. We're going. The teacher did what they need to do. The kids got it. And they move forward. So here's your little quiz, and don't be upset if you don't get it. It's okay. But Fist of 5, how confident are you that you could identify 2 things that we did in our advanced placement programming to improve the scores or have more access or whatever were the things we did? Fist of 5. I'm confident I can identify. I'm not going to ask you what they are, so I'm confident I can identify 2 things. 5, 5, 4, 4, 4. Yay, okay. Matt? No. He's right, used to it. Great. So as a teacher, right there on the spot, in the moment, I can say, all right, look, 4 to 5s, I'm pretty good. Could probably do a quick review and kind of go later and go. Or maybe I had a 3, maybe I had a 2. You know what, you guys, get over here, get going. I'm going to move you on with this next assignment. Let me just come over here real quick and say, this is important. It's going to be something we need later. Let me explain it to you again. That is really the benefit of true formative assessment. And that really is great teaching, and we see it all the time, of course, in our schools. There's other ones we do. We do thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. A very common one, formative, is going to be a ticket out the door before the kids leave. You have a couple questions ready for them. They walk out. You ask them to answer them. They walk out. You take them, and the teacher flips. They can do it very quickly. Flips through and goes, oh, they're not getting that one. I will address that the next day. Or everybody's going. Everybody's good with this question. I'm good to go. I'll move forward. Great assessment there. I'm going to read the other ones for you and then give you examples of them as we go. Next one would be something we just put in this year, ACT Aspire Benchmark. We've only done this 2 times, and only in English classes and math. We can do it in science. We did not purchase that at this time, but that is available in science. We have Common Core-alike exams in some areas, and so they do common assessment. For example, Algebra 1 teachers might give the same assessment once a semester or whatever it might be that they're doing, so that's an example. And then and these are all used differently, and I'll show you how. And then there's norm-referenced summative assessments. These are those biggies that you kind of think of. We have ACT Aspire Summative, a big one that we do one time a year. That's done in October for all 9th and 10th graders. That is the one that's aligned to the ACT, and I'm going to show you an example of that. But when it's different than this benchmark up here, it's want to make sure you know this is different than this one, and I'm going to show you both. We have our grad year ACT that I'll show you that we use that gives us an idea of those big kind of picture assessments, and then we have PARC, and as you know, PARC is very new to us, and really. We don't have a point A and a point B for PARC, and right now, I think until we get some more information, while we have a point A, we've had an assessment done, we're not really sure what that means, right? The reliability, the validity of that has not been time tested. Unlike the ACT, where they very much have had years and years and years of data, where students get a certain score and then they go to college and they can predict and see actually how they did, and then they readjust, they re-norm based on that. We just don't have that with PARC yet. And so while we're giving it, and we have to give it, and it may someday be exactly what we need, it may speak very directly to the Common Core standards. It may speak very directly to what kids need to be doing to get into college. Right now, we don't know. And so I know that's a big question, and people want me to answer it, but I want to answer it accurately. We did it. We're going to see where it goes. Some of the preliminary indication of PARC, for example, Judy and I went to a conference earlier this year, and one of the people that were speaking said, at least from the get-go, to exceed expectations on the math in PARC was equal to a 34, was it in the math on the ACT? That's extremely high for the ACT. It's only out of 36. So if that, and they were saying that, and so, I mean, that's great. We want it to be great if all kids can get that. But that's College of Engineering at the University of Illinois. I mean, that's really, a different kind of ballpark than what we would probably consider to be exceeding in math. And so there needs to be some work. Some studies need to be done. We need to see how this plays out compared to other assessments. Until they do, we'll have it, and we'll look at it, and we'll review it, and we're doing that now. But we're not, jumping over it and making decisions based off it right now. Here's the benchmark I spoke to. So this is a very, 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 very small piece of information that teachers have. It's usually about 6 topic areas. So I've just given you an example. This was the second benchmark we did this year for our math. I think it was, I don't know what math class it was, to be honest. I don't know if it was Algebra 2. Mike may know. I don't know which one it was. It's just algebra. Okay, algebra. Thanks, Mike. And what this does for a teacher is that the students take that assessment during class that day on the computer, and immediately those results are put into, ACT Aspire World, and the teacher can log in and see these results only much more. And what it's saying here is in this area of algebra, now underneath it could be, there's like 5 or 6 other ones that go with this, but for these questions, these related to algebra, and it's saying 69% of the students answered this question 4 correctly. And over here, this is the actual standard. So if you were pulling up the Illinois Learning Standards, the Common Core standards, they could click this and it would open up and it would read what that exact standard is. And a teacher can go, okay, depending on where they think their students should be. I don't want people to get all freaked out because this says 12%. It's very possible the curriculum hasn't covered that yet. This is done 3 times a year, and we're doing it to show growth. But it may be that it has, and the teacher's going to go, oh, geez, I need to, adjust my instruction or whatever it is. But this is a way that they can use that. And this can be used by the teacher, by a course team, by a building department, by me, by district people. It can be used by the principals in many different ways. But this is new to us. I do want to make that clear. This is the first year we've done this. And so we're still seeing how it will benefit us and what we'll use. This is how a common assessment item analysis report might look for teachers. So at the times when they do that, here's an example of that. And my eyesight up there is, I'm going to use mine down here. For the first one, what this means is for question 1, the options were A, B, C, D. Is that an E or an F? F. And students, this means that 70% of the students picked C. And that is, in fact, because it's bright green, the correct answer. So a teacher, again, this takes a little bit longer for us to get this back. They're on Scantrons and different, or maybe on computers both ways, but it's taken a little bit while to get it back more. But the teacher can go, okay, 70%'s okay. This over here is a distractor question. So it's not all that bad that 18% actually went for this question. It just helps the teacher understand maybe I need to hone that down a little bit more, and figure it out. Fairly strong assessment here. This means, if there's 3 reds going across here. But it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, the teacher didn't do this correctly or the kids didn't get it. Sometimes questions aren't that great either. And you can actually look and change your questions based on that. So another way that our teachers or teams can use that, not used near as often and that is not the immediacy of class time like a formative, but definitely used. Here's our summative assessment. And this used to be, for those of you who've had high school kids, these used to be the explore and plan kind of notion. You would take the explore in the 9th grade, then you take the plan in the 10th grade. ACT Aspire now has ACT summative for this particular area. And this shows us kind of big growth kind of concepts or understanding of where we might be. This is Centennial. And I do want to make it clear, this is not a cohort. So this doesn't mean that every kid in the 9th grade group was around to take it in the 10th grade group. We absolutely can drill down, and we absolutely do, and provide true cohorts. We can say as a matter of fact, one of the goals for the principal is every African-American student in reading. And so we make sure it's a true cohort. He took this test, they took this test, was their growth. So we do that. But this is bigger picture so that you can see. And you'll see 9th graders, this is the graduating class of 2018, so they're currently sophomores. When they took their 9th grade English, I have to look at my paper, 44% were meeting, would be at benchmark compared to national, which is 60%. They take this in about early October when they come into 9th grade. Neither the national or the school was meeting what ACT would like to see as their benchmark. But when they became sophomores, again, anywhere from 500 to 600 kids, but some kids go in and out, so you need to know that, moved up to 59%. Is that what my eyesight? 56, yep, 56%. National did not go up as much. They only went up 3. We at Centennial, moved our freshman to our sophomore in English way more than national. That's a good sign. Still not where the benchmark is in this case, but definitely in all of the areas at Centennial headed in the right direction, and in 2 cases at where they would say our benchmark should be. So making progress. And Joe and Greg, high school principals, obviously there's a conversation we have, and when we look at these just came in not too long ago, but we do this every year. And here's our grad year ACT, probably. I don't want to assume everybody's real aware of the ACT, so I'll just do a little bit of a kind of tutorial. But grad year, this is the graduating class of 2015. This is the demographic breakdown on the bottom one, sorry. This is the right here. District, state. This is their average score and in the areas. And these are their average composite score. This is also, we have this broken down for English, math, reading, science, social science. And so we have that in all areas. And the general guideline with the ACT, and the thing to think about is it's out of 36. If you get about a 20 on it, it means you got about 50% of the questions correct. The ACT is designed to identify students to move into college, right, and to be successful in college. And I looked it up because I used to know this by heart, but I want to make sure. It's basically saying if you meet their benchmark in a particular area, so let's say English, you have a 50% chance of getting a B or higher in the corresponding course in college. It's designed for this. That's why they made this test. Or a C, 75% chance of getting a C. And the other. And so we shoot for those benchmarks. We want to kind of get to a place where we feel pretty good about the various benchmarks across them. And to put it in perspective, I did look at some of our local universities just to get so you can have an idea of what they give as guidelines for ACT scores. Mind you, one point in time should not be everything that happens to a child, right? But they do take the ACT scores very seriously, along with the GPAs and along with some other areas that they measure to determine who gets in. And so Eastern Illinois, for example, their guideline is a 21. That doesn't mean kids can't have lower to get in. We have many that do. Doesn't mean you can't have higher. But their guideline is a 21 along with the corresponding GPA. Southern Illinois is 24. Southern Illinois Edwardsville is 20. University of Illinois Chicago is 21. University of Illinois Champaign is 27 as their base guideline. ISU 27, or 22, I apologize. Northern 19. Western 18. And so we're keeping this in mind as we're thinking of how, again, Judy put the outcome in mind, where the kids may want to be, not saying they all want to go to college, but if they do, very important for us to monitor these and make sure.
And I can just add too, Laura showed 2 different slides there, and you'll hear this conversation taking place both the state and the federal level about growth versus attainment. And you'll hear this as well at the middle level and elementary level. And so both are very important to see where students are come in and state that we expect our students to grow this much. But it doesn't mean that they've reached the attainment that a national score would want them to see, right? But both are very important. And I think you'll see this at all three levels, that we set realistic goals for that growth, but we know that we have to accelerate different student groups at different rates if we want to reach that benchmark or that attainment score.
And all those different areas, the ones I said, like G said, some can be both, actually. If you have two data points and you can dig down deep enough, you can use it as a growth. Some are straight attainment, you know, and both are very important. Other ways that we use assessment right here, to give some examples. We have tiered interventions, depending on how the student's doing in class, maybe combined with a reading assessment or something else. We may decide they get some support in a certain way. We contract out, actually, with Illini Tutoring for some ACT prep. We also have some courses in the high schools for ACT prep. A base score or a practice ACT helps determine who might want to go in there and who might receive such support. And so there's many ways that the data is used. Instruction, I am going to go through this one a little quicker, only because there are many, many, many instructional strategies that are very important, and our teachers are highly skilled in how they implement those. But what I think is important to know in our sense is that about 4 or 5 years ago, the high schools agreed to adopt the gradual release of responsibility model of instruction. And so this model suggests that the cognitive load shifts from the teacher slowly to the student to start moving them toward independence. And to just make it as simple as I could do, because it's an entire book and they spend a year studying it and learning that, it's literally, think of the teacher giving a focus lesson. I do it. I, as the teacher, am doing this for you, or showing you and demonstrating it. Guided instruction, we're going to work together and do it. Maybe you're solving problems with me or whatever it might be. Collaborative, students do it together. I think a lot of you have seen our math classes where at CPM, where there's a lot of collaborative work there. And then independent, you do it alone. All right, so I just wanted to frame it for you that is how their instructional their framework is at the high schools. But within that, there are just dozens and dozens and dozens of instructional strategies that go through. I think I need a glass of water. No. I think one of the areas, now we're going to get to some of the innovative practices and some of the really cool things that are happening at our high schools. With support from Dr. Lenny Pitt, George Reese, and Dr. George Reese from the U of I and Parkland College, I really want to make sure you realize how far ahead of the game we are in terms of computer science. Just 4 computer science offered this year. We're adding another one next year, which is AP Computer. I had one things, AP Computer Science Principles. But what is really kind of key here is none of these were offered before 2014, the fall of 14. So we have now offered, and not only that, kids are taking them. And I recently, the teacher emailed and said, hey, I have so many students enrolled in this particular applied computing class, which is an entry-level coding computing class. I had to buy more robotics kits, and we had to dig up some money for that because we just didn't expect how many kids really wanted to take these courses. These courses are doing things that are done in the college-level courses. Judy sent me an article recently from the University of Wisconsin. She said, do you think we're doing some of that? And I actually said, I think our applied computing in the new principles class, and sure enough, our teacher said, yep, this is where we're doing some of these things, creating painting and photo apps and calculator apps and the robotics, and having some offline computer science work, not just online, but actually how it works in our minds. And then I went and I searched the other districts around and up north of those big wigs we always think about, and we are by far ahead of the game here, and we should be really proud of that. A couple of pieces of data for you. 4,310 out of 37,000 high schools offer AP Computer Science, or 11 and 12%. Next year we're offering 2. And so only 12% in our country right now offering that. And that's wonderful opportunity for our students. We're at a point that I've contacted Dr. Pitt and said, hey, they're going to tap out here. I'm going to need some help. And so I think we're going to start talking about, do they go over to the U of I and take something? I mean, they can as seniors. We can figure this out. He was open to the conversation, so we'll see where that goes. And then just today, I was on the phone with Microsoft because they had heard some of the things we were doing. I had a connection with them 2 or 3 years ago when we were putting this in. and they got me connected with someone else, and they said, wow. And actually, a lot of our battle is getting our state to start thinking about this as a requirement and some other things. And they are willing. They connected me today. I forwarded it to Judy to maybe help with that because they've seen we've moved so quickly on this. So good stuff in that area. Very strong teaching and great capacity building here. Innovative practices through CU Schools Foundation. I realize you saw one of these, but I think another thing that we've done is Teachers Ann Monroe and Jason Fisher were awarded a grant fund for Fidget Friendly, and I believe that was something Lynn had asked about.
You had pointed that article out to me, and that night, CU Foundation awarded Ann and Jason that grant so they could put these type of desks in.
Where you can stand. And then you just had a whole PowerPoint on this particular collaborative grant that we do with 116. And and so I won't go into that, but remarkable work and things going on there with for our students. And I'm going to move a little bit to, which is more, some of this is more K-12 in some ways. Nope, this is still high school. I think last year, I will direct you to our Unit 4, what is that over there, Chris? that pipe, it's a copper project, thank you to that. We had an independent study, summer trades independent study program with Local 149, Matt Langendorf, Chris helped with that. We are just about ready to put that out again and have kids start signing up. We have to post for the teacher and do all the things that we're doing, but that will continue as a great opportunity for our students. We have our Education of Careers Professions internship classes at both high schools. These are some of our community partners, but there are many, many more. Again, great work that Mark Shagnon started. Now it's continued, but he started that originally. And then the Young Entrepreneurship Program, I think, Kathy, you came that evening over at the UI, where we saw some of the great work that's being done there to link our students up with the community people in the fields, in the businesses, and have them start learning what it means to be an entrepreneur. Here's culturally responsive education and social justice. This is another big significant part of Dr. Wiegand's goals. So I can speak to some of the areas of this. I think you probably just saw an email go out today about our next seminar that's coming up next week on Thursday. And so we have that coming. We've had seminars now for 4 years, and we'll continue to do so. But we also go out in the community and actually present. I'm in a U of I class Wednesday with Dr. Salo to talk with him about some of the social justice work that we're doing. The Human Relations Commission, we presented them, but we also opportunities for our teachers to learn about social justice and culturally responsive education. And at the high school level, we're doing, the high schools have really taken on some of the students have actually taken on some of the work, and so I'll give you a little bit of taste of that. Our board credit courses are something that we offer every year. These are 2 that are focused more on culturally responsive education. One is Decoding Dr. Trey with Dr. Patterson from the U of I, and then Dr. Salo I just spoke to. He did one on Teaching Ferguson, and I think some of you may have even walked that tour with him on the Saturday, which wasn't the course, but a small part of the course. And you went to the course. Good. Excellent. And so some of our teachers take us up on those, and they are options for our teachers. Here's the seminars. We have our action groups that go with their areas of social justice down on the bottom. You can see the different topics. And I'm going to give a couple examples of our various action groups as they help across that circle of social justice to make sure we're trying to reach as many families and students as possible. Here's an example from our LGBT task force that meets, I think, about 4 times a year. They just met last week. I actually went to that one. And of the work that they did in elementary schools, middle school, and high school to make our LGBT students and families feel more welcome in our environments and make sure that we're addressing their needs specifically. This is another one that I'm a little bit way more involved in. This is RISE, which is our Racial Identity Student Experience. This is a group of adults, cross-race adults, working with a group of cross-race males at both high schools. We meet once a month. They meet tomorrow, actually, at Centennial, and where they have done some very significant, deep work, really, in terms of racial identity and racial justice. They're in the process of creating a racial ally poster. We're moving to film, hopefully this summer, a movie, a little short film that we can do. And most recently, they've been studying the 3 levels of racism, that there's many ways to come at racism, but institutionalized, personally mediated, and internal racism is the frame we've been using. They've explored hip-hop lyrics through that. And then now, because of the Cam Newton I don't want to call it controversy, but the black quarterback conversation that has been going on with Cam Newton, that is their topic for tomorrow, along with what's going on at the Oscars, actually, and talking about it from these three lenses of racism, levels of racism, and it's remarkable to have, again, cross-race young males advocating for each other, really talking about what I think some of adults have a very difficult time talking about, has been wonderful. The adults that run it are on the right there. Again, dedicated educators who are doing this because they want to, and not some educators. We have some community members. Jamar has been part of this since the beginning, and so we'll continue to go and continue to do that. There's actually a new girls group. The girls at Centennial saw the boys wearing their shirts, and so now we have a girls Rise group at Centennial for now, and they are meeting with some very dedicated adults and starting these. They're using our curriculum from last year and catching up, and then we'll put them together. Multiple venues where there's safe spaces to talk about race. I think Judy said this came part of the settlement agreement that we needed that, or from ABER's climate study?
Right, and so we had Mark Aber from the university. He did 2 climate studies, one at the very beginning of the consent decree, and then another one right when the district was in the process of doing the settlement agreement. So again, taking a look at where can there be spaces for both adults and students to have those safe conversations around race and class. And so we continue to explore those different ways that are meaningful for our educators and our students.
And here's some examples of that. So just recently started the Social Justice Educators Collaborative. Kate Fluge runs that and organized that with help and support from the Social Justice Initiative. And many other teachers actually can join that. They meet Wednesdays once a month and talk about what it means to be a social justice educator. And I think some of the challenges that go along with that. Someone who's speaking out for social justice and how to address those. Real Talks at Central and Centennial. Centennial's been holding these for quite some time. Central just instituted them this year, where they have anybody can come during the lunch period, 6-period lunch, any junior and senior that is, because they have open lunch, and they give you different topics, and I'll show you one as it comes up. But there's different topics each time. We had Chief Cobb come and visit at Centennial and talk about what was going on really in our country in terms of the shooting of black males by police officers and how that relates here in Champaign. And he did a lovely job of really speaking with the children, and it was a good conversation. Social Justice Committee is at Central, new this year. Very excited that started. Action Group at Centennial has been going on for a number of years. Some project-based learning stuff I'm just previewing that's going on at Novak, but when they're done, I cannot wait for you to see that. They are doing the Social Justice Elective course this session, and then really going to do some very great things there. And then there's lots of conversations at the district level and in our different various meetings, groups, which we have minutes to show if you wanted them that show we're doing that. This was one of the topics of, it was either a Real Talk or a Social Justice Committee over at Central, microaggressions. And then this was the first meeting that they had at Central, so that you could see the number of students that decided to come on their own to have a conversation either about social justice or race specific, depending on which one that they were doing that day. And I think is that all I have. That's a lot.
There is a lot. And again, I really appreciate the board giving us this opportunity to highlight at each level the work that's taking place. And again, you may have questions or comments, but I certainly encourage you over these next few meetings as you hear this information and you have a hard copy of these goals to please take notes and questions and so forth, because when we come back together, I think in April or so, being able to formulate the goals and indicators for next year will be very helpful. So I guess we'll stop there and open it for questions or comments.
I'll start off by saying that we are doing a lot at the high school level, and that's exciting. And I personally look forward to going through this process and working on expanding some of those great things that we're doing and furthering the opportunities, and then also collaborating on how we can improve on some of those things where we're behind in some things. So thank you for the report. Thank you for splitting it up.
You're up.
I couldn't imagine rolling in through all of it. So thank you. And I'll turn it over to the rest of the board. Ms. Richards.
Yes, thank you. I have a question that I don't think I'm going to ask you for an answer tonight. It's something that I would like to hear your thoughts on, and that is a question about the assessment piece. And it strikes me that it's a part of education that is, in a way, most part of the profession of education and the least part that's understood by the general public. I mean, we've all been to school, right? So we all think we know what it means to be an educator. And there's that, of course, that bit where there are people for whom it is their job and they have gone to school and they have job experience. It's the part that I think that's maybe most difficult for the public to access. And so the question that I would like to hear your thoughts on is really, there's two parts. The first part is how much these kinds of test assessments are used to look at what individual students are doing versus what particular groups, like you broke out demographic groups, are doing, what entire school systems are doing. So right, we're talking about, my kid in 8th grade and his PARCC results, and we're talking about what Unit 4 is doing compared to the country. And it's all coming back to tests, right? So it's really hard, I think, to get your mind around what the purpose is of all this testing and when we're talking about individuals and when we're talking about groups. Okay, so that's part one of the unanswerable large question. And the second part is really to get a sense of how much the teachers in the classroom feel that their time is spent on testing as opposed to teaching and learning, and getting a handle on, are they happy with that? Because, we get asked at forums, what do you think about standardized testing? And, you can usually say, well, I'm against it, and everybody will applaud. And, but because I don't think anybody really likes testing, but just to help us in some way to understand and then explain to other people how we feel about it as a district. So those are that's my two-part question that I'd like you to think about.
It's very complex, yes.
Yes, it is.
Multifaceted.
Feel free to simplify it if you think you can. Okay.
No. Okay, thank you.
These are the
That's
things
good
that
feedback.
keep me up
Yes.
at night. Okay.
Doctor, everybody's a doctor.
You can call me a doctor.
Miss Armstrong.
I'm a mammologist. To bounce off of that, are we burdening our teachers with paperwork? Because I can't imagine not only do we now have to teach, and we have to test, and then we have to sit and take all this data and write all that down. Are we burdening the people in the classroom that are delivering this information? That keeps me up. So to bounce off those two, I think we can answer that easily.
Yes.
And maybe change it if we are.
Because it could also vary by level too, so I think there's a lot of different pieces there. Okay, good. No, very good. You're right, the assessment question, right, it's a huge piece, not only here, but also across our country. And I just think about, when I mentioned at the beginning about the implementation of that component of a teacher's evaluation for next year, right? And that growth model and what's reused. Those are high stakes, and so those are important, very important questions and conversations to have. Okay, good. Yes.
Dr. Baker.
Just a couple of questions. You have to remind me a little bit. How do students get into the AP courses and the honors courses?
It's their choice. It's an open enrollment. So there are times when the trigger system will help, a teacher will be identified, they will reach actually out to students because they've seen progress. And so we have a system in place to help them, which is why the enrollment has gone up in many ways. But it's an open enrollment. There are nothing blocking them.
For both?
Yes, absolutely.
And in regards to the dual credit piece, do we have faculty, teachers within the school district that?
Yes, and so part of that is that reason I met with science, the science department of Parkland already, and the teachers, is that we can figure out who would be qualified. There are rules of who can be qualified from our Parkland, from our college. We work with the teachers and try and, make that happen, but they are all Unit 4 teachers teaching in our classes, or in our buildings. Let me take that back. There's one, the medical careers, there's one outside one that is sometimes very hard to fill. And so sometimes someone comes over from Parkland for that one, or we send, but it's a medical career specific one.
Any further questions? Again, this will be an ongoing conversation and collaboration as we build these goals through the next couple of months.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wiegand and Dr. Taylor. That moves us to agenda item 10, our consent agenda. And as I've done in the past, we'll read through some of this with the first one, the motion to, first I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Richards and Shannon. So B is approval of a 10-year health life safety survey report for the McKinley Fieldhouse. Matt, you touched on this previous meetings. This is just the final approval of it.
This is just the addition of the field house. The State Regional Office of Education had not asked us to do it in the past, and then they asked us to do it this time. So this is just the findings of that report.
Okay, thank you. 10C is the Novak Academy lease renewal. This is a one-year renewal, and we...
That's correct, on the same terms that the existing lease is under.
Thank you. 10D is the bid for Central High School Combs gym floor.
Some areas in need of repair on the gym floor in Combs.
Thank you. 10E is a bid for elementary supplementary devices. Dave, I believe, has presented on this before. 10F is a resolution authorizing sale of forced salt/sand spreaders. We have
This is a standard sale of district equipment.
Thank you. 10G and 10H are two trips, so I'm going to allow Tom to discuss a little bit more in depth.
Sure, so what would you like me to
So
touch on?
we're approving these two trips, correct?
That's what is up for approval, yes.
Okay. We've had some questions during public comment about it. And so one that stood out to me right off the bat was the district picks up the tab for the background check, correct?
Correct. In this case, the district will be picking up the tab for the background check.
Okay. Any other questions on this specifically, board? Yeah.
I think sometimes people may be a bit, maybe they have questions as to what actually happens with a background check. Can you maybe just explain? Because I understand people who don't want to maybe give their social security number or other identifying information. So can you maybe talk through what it entails?
Sure.
And what happens with the results?
Sure. I'll let Mr. Cleaver speak to kind of the initiation of the process from a policy perspective. The background checks that we are going through, that we are looking for participants on these trips to undertake are the same that we require for all volunteers who have potentially unsupervised one-on-one access to students as a part of district functions. And so what we are trying to do is make that consistent with other volunteer opportunities. In the last, it was about a year ago now that it came to our attention that this was not happening. And so communications went out to all district administrators that moving forward, district-affiliated overnight trips, which adults were accompanying students, that those individuals would be subject to the background checks. What happens when someone comes to have the check done, they can come to the Mellon Building. That is all done here. It is something that then it runs through our fingerprint technician downstairs. There is no information is received by anyone at the district other than the fingerprint technician unless there's a hit of some kind that would require review, in which case either Mr. Kleber or myself review that to determine if the individual is would qualify to pass the background check. The standard that is used for that is the same standard that is used for employment and volunteers that is established within the school code. And so we kind of use that as our guideline. If an individual did not pass a background check, the only notification, the individual would be notified only that they didn't pass the background check. No one else would have any information as to why they did not pass the background check. But in terms of how we've established some of those in kind of in conjunction with the Fair Credit Reporting Act and things like that, I'll let Mr. Kleber talk to that.
So we actually do two types of checks, and so in this instance we're talking about fingerprints, and so we actually are we have our own equipment that transmits directly to the Illinois State Police and the FBI, and so in that instance that's what we are doing, and we are directly receiving those reports back. We have I think it's called the PCORI number. It's a long acronym. We have our own reception number essentially for that, and it's a database that's run through the Illinois State Police and the FBI. We do some what we call name checks that are run through credit reporting agencies. That wouldn't apply in this instance, but we do more limited checks for people who are not going to have extended direct contact with students, where those are run through, it's a third-party vendor we use. It's Bushu Human Resources, and they and somebody who's undergoing one of these checks would fill out a form. It would disclose, exactly the type of search we're going to do. The only difference there would be no physical fingerprints required. But that, again, is also done in-house. The only people with access to that information are my fingerprint technician, myself, Mr. Lockman. And then we have a letter that we generate if somebody doesn't pass. We don't just send them a letter. We call them and tell them they're entitled to a copy of their report if they wish, and this is all in the letter. And then oftentimes they'll want to come in and meet and talk, and I've had those meetings. Mr. Lockman's had those meetings. But when we are notifying buildings in either instance that somebody is or isn't cleared, it's just simply they're cleared, they're not. There's no additional detail provided. No, they're not cleared because X, Y, and Z. We don't discuss that outside of our office.
Thank you, Ken. Tommy, could you maybe, and putting you on the spot just a little bit, speak to some of the other volunteers in our district that would go through a similar background check?
Sure. So when we talk about at this point extended regular contact with one-on-one unsupervised contact with students, this would be tutors, mentors. Those would be the primary categories that I can think of. We do have contractors that are that come into the buildings either for what we've had. The primary case where we've had that in recent years has been the elementary renovation projects. Researchers who may come into the building. Student teachers have to be checked in this manner. Yeah,
that helps.
Thank you. That's the bulk of it.
Yeah. So, any further questions on these two? I know it's in the consent agenda, but I think it's important.
Can I just ask for I know you said it's in the school code. Could you just tell us what kinds of things disqualify you on a background check?
Sure. So this is by no means comprehensive and is very much an overview because it is very specific.
Okay, wait. Can you tell me what things don't disqualify you? I know that would mean a lot. What I'm trying to say is, can we kind of reassure people that we're not going to get the minor thing that happened in college? You know what I mean?
Sure. So I guess things really run the gamut. It probably is less expansive to talk about what is disqualifying, which would be Class X felonies, crimes that may be against children, any felony within the last 7 years, and most all drug-related offenses, and that's specifically spelled out in the school code, absent some minor possession offenses, for which probation is not successfully completed. Nothing else outside those categories would be disqualifying generally.
So when I fill out these forms, because I filled them out for Barksdale and I filled them out for IPA, so basically, when I want to volunteer in my child's school, I fill these forms out, and I've done it. So this is implemented district-wide in every building, correct?
Correct. It's implemented district-wide. The first time that's done, if you're going to be a regular volunteer, that's when the fingerprint check is initiated here at the Mellon Building. And then that information is distributed to schools where it may apply.
And Amy, depending on what kind of check, you may have done a name check, you may have done a fingerprint check. I'm not sure about that particular. So, so depending on what category you would fall into, the level of access, right, to students, that would determine which one we use, and we have specific.
Yep.
Maybe you can also clarify, when did we initiate having these type of checks done on volunteers who may be accompanying students on an overnight trip?
Sure. So
And how was that done?
As part of a discussion last year about this time, had the discussion administratively about ensuring that background checks were done in accordance with policy on these overnight trips. And so that was communicated at the beginning of March last year. There was a spring break trip that was happening at the middle school where this was going to be the case. And so that left very short time to accomplish getting those checks done, but they were all completed successfully and without issue.
Lynn, did you have a question?
Well, actually, I had two, but I think you've just answered one of them regarding the Edison band trip. Secondly, you mentioned that there's two categories that volunteers may be classified under and have background checks on. Do we redo the checks at any point in time, like every 3 years, every 5 years?
So when somebody has a check done through us, they are in the system. So if there is a hit, we will get an update from the Illinois State Police or the FBI, and those will come through, and then they'll be reviewed just like any new or initial hit. And so we get an ongoing. It's basically an update if people have gone through the system once.
Okay, so let's say I come in tomorrow and I register as a volunteer and go through the checks, I would stay in the system and nothing would change unless you get a hit maybe 10 or 20 years in the future that says, hey, something may have come up, you might want to review this individual again.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if you were to break service with the district or something and be gone, we would do another check to sort of get you back on the list. But generally speaking, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Were there any further questions? Okay. So that was 10G and 10H. And 10I is human resource changes, Ken. Typical for month to month. We see those come in and come out. 10J is bills and treasurer's report. We need to pay the bills, January. 10K is minutes of the January 11th, 2016 meeting and the January 25th, 2016 meeting, standard procedure. And so that's 10A through K that we're approving. So I have a motion and I have a second. Tammy, could you refresh the memory on this? Yep, let's go ahead and call it.
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Clupple?
Yes.
Ms. Stuckey?
Yes.
Mr. Westfield?
Yes.
The consent agenda passes 7-0, sorry, not 10-0. And that moves us to 11. Yes? Yes.
Okay. So I I appreciate, like we said, appreciate the clarifications that you made, and can I maybe encourage people who have questions about the specific trips that are coming up? I know that the leaders are here tonight. I would encourage you, I think, to address questions about the trips themselves to you guys, and then follow up with us if you still have concerns. Is that a fair? Okay.
Fair.
Okay. Thank you all. I know you've waited for quite some time, so appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Excellent. We do not need to go back into executive session, so we will move from 11 to 12. We're here still in open session. And we need to now go to 13 and act on our executive session from earlier. 13B is student discipline for number 550240. It is the recommendation of the Board of Education that student number 550240 should be expelled from Centennial High School for the remainder of the 2015-16 school year and first semester of the 2016-17 school year for violating Conduct Codes number 25, threats to / intimidation of student, number 34, weapons-related activities, and number 36, mob action of the Champaign Unit 4 School Code of Conduct. Such expulsion shall be held in abeyance so long as the student meets the attendance and behavioral requirements of the student's alternative placement during the expulsion period. If such requirements are met upon expiration of their reassigned term, the expulsion will be vacated and the student may return to his or her regularly assigned school following the expulsion period. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Westfield Stuckey. Questions? Tammy, please call roll.
Mr. Westfield?
Yes.
Ms. Stuckey?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Abstain.
Mr. Koppel?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
13C, student discipline, student number 207482. It is the recommendation of the Board of Education that student number 207482 should be expelled from Centennial High School for the remainder of the 2015-16 school year and the entire 2016-17 school year, and should be reassigned to an alternative setting at the administration's direction for violating Conduct Codes number 15, harassment / hazing / bullying, number 19, physical confrontation with student, and number 34, weapon-related activities. Such expulsion shall be held in abeyance so long as the student meets the attendance and behavioral requirements of the assigned placement. If such requirements are met upon the expiration of the reassigned term, the expulsion will be vacated and the student may return to his or her regularly assigned school.
So moved.
Second.
Stuckey, Westfield. Questions? Tammy, please call roll.
Ms. Stuckey?
Yes.
Mr. Westfield?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Abstain.
Mr. Koppel?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
That moves us to 13D, student discipline, student number 530196. It is the recommendation of the Board of Education that student number 530196 should be expelled from Central High School for the remainder of the 2015-16 school year and first semester of the 2016-17 school year for violating Conduct Codes number 18, physical confrontation with staff, number 19, physical confrontation with student, and number 36, mob action of the Champaign Unit 4 Student Code of Conduct. Such expulsion shall be held in abeyance so long as the student meets the attendance and behavioral requirements of the student's alternative placement during the expulsion period. If such requirements are met upon expiration of the reassigned term, the expulsion will be vacated and the student may return to his or her regularly assigned school following the expulsion period. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Richard Shannon. Questions? Tammy, please call roll.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Ms. Shannon?
Yes.
Ms. Armstrong?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Abstain.
Mr. Koppel?
Yes.
Ms. Stuckey?
Yes.
Mr. Westfield?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 with one abstention. That moves us to agenda item 14, adjournment. I Need a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Westfield Shannon, all in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 15, future meetings. A special board meeting, board retreat has been canceled. Special board meeting February 22nd, 2016, to be held at Savoy Recreation Center. Thank you, everyone.